Today, Precarious plays
Hades. We did 2 or 3 rooms to get back on a track that makes me feel better about dragging my feet a little bit.
Yeah.
And now it's time for the boss of Elysium.
Avert your eyes, fiend, lest the shining bronze work of the Macedonian should strike you blind. We are prepared to face your devilry.
Prepared for me, really? I've dismantled your ridiculous chariot before. Even Poseidon knows you're just a blowhard with a fancy ride.
See, and it
that
keeps
resulted.
going.
Yeah, that resulted because of the conversation you had earlier.
How dare you to invoke my lord Poseidon's name and to besmirch our complicated past? No god shall ever favor you as he has favored both Asterius and me.
So Poseidon was just upset that somebody, a different god probably, gave Theseus, presumably Hades, gave Theseus this chariot.
Oh, he was jealous. Oh. See, that is the drama. This whole place is drama. Okay, so let's talk about the story just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we are using names that have a lot of baggage attached to them because it's like popular Greek mythology. But here
It's basically reality TV.
Yeah, it's basically reality TV that we're playing here, and it's so fun because, like, you know how sometimes mythic figures are used, but they are, like, treated in a way that is so precious and holy, it keeps them from being human or interesting. This is not the case, especially every time you use whatever purple thing that is and Dionysus shows up and goes like, hey man.
I'm getting just stomped. I hate this. This is usually not a problematic battle, I promise.
Well, you have a lot of things going against you right now, although you did figure out a much better build, or not better build.
How to better exploit the build that has shaken out. And that's what I love about playing this game. It is a rare example of a rogue-like or rogue-lite style game where I almost always end up feeling empowered, like I could succeed.
Yeah.
With whatever build I get.
Yeah, it's randomness that is not frustrating, or at least not in the same way that it usually is. Usually just plain randomness just makes you hate everything. But this is like interesting randomness.
So he is favored by the gods as well. So he winds up kind of like stealing Zagreus' jam a little bit.
Yeah, and let's talk about Zagreus. We've been talking about mechanics and the relationship this game has to other games for all of the episodes we've recorded so far. But you are Zagreus.
Handsome boy,
son of Hades.
Well, okay, we've already declared that spoilers are in full force.
Yeah.
You are the son of Hades and Persephone, but you were raised thinking that Nyx was your mother. Quick aside for one of my favorite little touches. Wait for it, gotta wait for the banner to go away.
Hope you enjoyed the show, my good shade.
One fan.
You have one fan.
One fan in the stands.
That's awesome.
Okay, sorry. You are the son of Hades and Persephone. And
do you know that when you first start?
the player does not, but you find out pretty quickly. Oh boy, what do I wanna go for? Just pure health, just a whole lot of HP.
These little keepsakes are also their own very interesting story. Every bit of this game, every stinking detail is like its own little drama that plays out. It's great. Oh man. Okay, but so you live in Hades.
Yes.
This is your home.
In the House of Hades.
In the House of Hades, you hang out there. Your relationship with your dad, at least at the very start, is not good.
Mm-hmm.
and you are trying initially, and I keep saying initially because there's an interesting loop that happens with this game that we'll explain. Initially, you are trying to figure out where your birth mother is, who she is. You're just trying to talk to her.
Yes.
So she's just been missing in your life thus far, and you just want to see what's happening. You're curious about her, or is there some other reason?
I think it's just that you're curious about her, and just it's difficult to talk about because for a long while in the game, I was a little disappointed with the way Zagreus treats his sort of adoptive mother, Nyx. But they have since resolved the situation in a lovely way that I missed that gold foot, in a lovely way that I was quite pleased with. It brought joy to my heart to see.
But that's just that's later.
Yeah.
I'm talking about initially.
Yeah, initially. Okay, so hold on. Zagreus is a lying, handsome rogue from moment one.
From moment one.
Yeah, because what is happening, he basically spends a long time lying to everyone in Olympus and the player. Because at the outset, it seems like he's trying to escape Hades to go hang out with everybody on Olympus, but over repeated playthroughs, you realize that his goal is actually to escape Hades just to find his mom.
And let me explain what repeated playthroughs actually means here. So...
Yeah, because this confounded you for a bit. In a way that surprised me, if I'm honest.
It wasn't particularly confounding. I just wanted to make sure that I was actually understanding what was really truly happening. So when you get out onto the surface,
if you get out onto the surface,
I'm sorry, I'm spoiled by your usual performance in this game. So if you make it up to the surface, you eventually die and show back up in the House of Hades because you're immortal. Because obviously you're Zagreus, So basically, each run of this game, it exists on the same timeline. It's not you go back to the beginning of the story. When you go back to the beginning physically, you're continuing the story. The story continues to develop. And it's fantastic because
let's just go down this Sata hole.
It allows the gameplay and the level to be really focused, but then deliver an immense amount of story and mechanical possibility, because you're running through pretty much the same geographical stuff all the time. But everything changes as you go through. It's like walking through town on your way to work every day.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, every run ends with death, no matter what.
Yeah, no matter what you do.
Oh, except for one. There is one that does not end with your... Why, game? Why this one?
Oh yeah, you hate these little guys.
No, this little guy. It is a specific named tiny mouse.
Oh, what's its name?
Tiny vermin.
Tiny vermin.
Yeah, and it is a murderer. It seems like a goof, but that they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
It is the lord of this realm. Where is it? There's one. Okay.
So when I'm trying to tease out what your starting motivation is, it really is complicated because you've played through this so many times and these characters have developed. It's funny. It's like running around in the same town all the time. This is your life. Your life as Zagreus is...
It's actually, they basically state outright by the end of the game, this is his day job now.
Yeah.
This is, at this point in the story, Hades is employing his son to try to break out to see where the security vulnerabilities are. Personally, I think that's bull. I think that what's actually happening is they both just recognize that it's easier for them to speak to one another on the surface, which is really sweet.
Aww.
Oh. Up. Up. Well, I mean, that's a successful run right there.
Yeah.
That's all we really needed.
Zagreus likes fishing.
Oh boy, okay. Let's do this one. I should have gone for the pomegranate, but that's fine. I really wish I had found different powers.
I thought you were just crowing about how nice a build you were able to make out of the ishiness that has happened so far.
Yeah, I just really wanted some like nice, solid, comfortable, like Divine Dash, I think, is Athena's. I really wanted that one for this first run because it would fill me with the confidence that I need to succeed while recording. Because it's well documented that for most people, us included, it's hard to talk while playing a hard video game.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was you said something interesting. You said at this point in the story.
Yeah.
Which the separation of each run from the progression of the story to me is really interesting. Usually when you have this type of roguelike situation. Hey, Charon. How are you? Creepy as ever. Oh!
Cerberus again accepts the sack.
And today we have Cerberus destroyed. His meal in 3 bites. Okay, so what were you saying? Because we're about to go fight Hades.
Okay. You said something interesting.
Yes. It was on accident, I promise.
Okay. It just highlights the fact that the story and the game loop are separated, which allows for the delivery of more story. Usually when you are talking about a roguelike, everything is random, while here it feels like random things are happening, but it's within the continuum of a story that builds based on who you run into at what point. And that is part of what makes this lovely. And now we go meet your maker.
Oh. Yeah, that is what's happening.
Well, 50% anyway. Okay.
Persephone, I think, is half mortal, so it's probably a little more regular. It's just like sometimes gods like fall out of...
Again, you draw me from all my responsibilities back at the house.
sometimes gods like fall out of head wounds and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hades has actually gotten pretty quiet at this point in the game.
But he's like annoyed with you because he's like, I have work to do at home.
Yeah, honestly, I think that the most interesting stuff Hades still has to say to me at this point, it's talking about the weapon aspects.
Oh gosh, I kind of want to, part of me wants to be quiet so that you can concentrate. But it's interesting, like, your relationship with Hades improves over time.
Yeah.
Don't you just kind of start out as an angry Ute, and now you are like a begrudging son?
They have started to come to an understanding, yes.
Yeah. Also, they make Hades like a really sympathetic character in
They
here.
do. He's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And so there is a bit of trouble that happens, which is sort of unavoidable, because it is unfortunate that the only way these two really ever learn to speak to one another is through physical violence.
Yeah.
That is... It's like, after a certain point, it kind of stops. You're gonna have a bad time if you keep treating it like a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
And it's like... It is so easy to look at this situation that's happening on screen right now and think like, okay, so this is a metaphor for like a dad that beats his son, and one day the sun hits him back, and then it gets better somehow after that.
That's not healthy.
But on the other hand, not thinking of it as a metaphor, just thinking of like what's actually happening to these characters in the world that they inhabit, they can't die forever. You know, death has physical violence, and death has a fundamentally different meaning for them.
Yeah.
And I think that weirdly is probably best typified in my mind by, of all things, like, I don't think it was a very good film, but The Lost Boys got a sequel at some point.
Yeah.
And there's a scene that has deeply changed the way that I look at, like, vampire lore and stuff, and immortal lore, right? Lore concerning immortal beings. During, like, the opening few minutes of that film, you have, like, a bunch of bro-y vampires at a party.
Yeah.
One of them walks up to somebody that's his friend and guts him. Like, stabs him in the stomach and cuts his entrails out, and the one that just got stabbed stands back up and is like, dude, come on!
What the hell?
Yeah, not like like you just gotten pantsed.
Yeah.
You know? And everybody, all of the non-immortals around are freaking out, or they're losing their minds.
Reasonably so.
And all of the vampires are just laughing like bros. And I'm like, that's what it would be like, isn't it? They've got a completely different way of engaging with what would be awful for somebody that experiences mortality.
Yeah.
I am worried I'm not gonna make it.
Well, it reminds me of The Old Guard too, but in a less haha way.
Yeah.
The Old Guard, gosh, that was a surprisingly good movie. I try not to, I don't know, pay attention to ads of really any kind for a movie, because most of the time I think, wow, if they're spending money on ads, then they have probably already lost the game at this point. But so I didn't really hear anybody talk about The Old Guard at all. But that was a really good movie.
What shall it take? What shall it take for you to...
More than an internet show, Father.
See back at the house, man. Like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and this is possibly my favorite part.
I did it.
This is
31.
possibly my favorite part.
31. So see, that was pretty slow, because you can see here the records that I have. I'm just, honestly, I was really expecting to get to, like, Elysium and then get wiped.
Yeah.
And lose my streak. I'm just happy that I managed to not break my streak.
So this episode ran long.
Well, let's finish up here, and we'll go back to the House of Hades, and then we'll mess around there. And I wanna do at least a few different runs with different weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
Because so very briefly, right at the end of this first run, I just want to say that this is the kind of game that could go on ad infinitum, you know? We could just do this for a really long time. I don't want to do that. I want to have it be more like what we did with Stardew Valley, where, like, we had specific goals in mind. So it's, you wind up with something still watchable.
Yeah.
You know? Because there is this sort of sense, because it's sort of like a day in the life of an immortal being.
Yeah.
You can just kind of keep going endlessly. And it can eventually give you this sense of, if you're watching it, it can give you this sense of, I've seen, this run is not that different to watch than this run.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, seen one run, seen them all. And it's not like that when you play it.
No, it's really not.
Yeah, and I would argue that I've been playing for 80 hours and I'm still getting new snippets of dialogue. So I wouldn't even say that it's really like that ultimately to listen to. But let's see how.
Yeah, this is the fun part.
Let's place our bets, because both
of our so
both
what happens?
Of ours came to pass. Yeah.
So what happens here is that, yay, you win, but you still die. and then they tell you how you ended up dying, and we placed our bets, and both of ours have come up in the course of...
In the first, I think that it said like I cleared it like 40 something times. So I think it's pretty impressive that we were in the top 40.
Yeah, that's good.
Because I guessed he trips and falls off the cliff into the sea, and that happened.
Yeah, and I guessed bears, and
just
that
bears,
happened.
And I nearly had like a medical emergency whenever the big white and red letters were just like
Explores the wonders of the world.
bears.
You didn't let me put a bet.
Oh, I forgot. It's fine.
We'll
There
bet
are
next
always
time.
more.
Yeah.
He got raked.
Fatally.
A rake.
Yeah, well, it was a tool. Maybe it was a hoe.
It's okay. He'll just see you back at the house, buddy. Like, this is just his life.
And
If I can get out even faster.
we're back.
I wonder if I can get out even faster. That's a fun sentiment. Okay. We should stop this episode because it's like way long.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back with more
This.
with more day in the life of
Baby Hades.
Baby Hades.